Good afternoon from the local time. And we would also send our warm regards to all the attendees outside of Indonesia. We would like to acknowledge His Excellency Mr. Vincent Piket, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the European Union to Indonesia and Brunei Darussalam. Professor Mieke Van Herreweghe as the Vice Rector of Ghent University. Mr. Mangadar Situmorang, PhD, as the Rector of Parahyangan Catholic University. Dr. Alue Dohong as the Vice Minister of Environment and Forestry of the Republic of Indonesia. Professor Jelle Saldien from Ghent University. Associate Professor Elina Narvanen from Tampere University. Ms. Anna de Visser Amundsen, PhD candidate from Hoda School The Hague. Ms. Noni Kaban, MBA, as Head of Program Rikolto in Indonesia. Dr. Johanna Reni Octavia as Primary Coordinator of IN2FOOD Project and Associate Professor of Industrial Engineering Department at Parahyangan Catholic University. Ms. Rati Indraswari, Master of Arts, PhD candidate as International Relations Lecturer of Parahyangan Catholic University. Rectors of Consortium Partners, Ms. Regina von Stiglitz as the President, Board of Directors of Hoda School The Hague. Associate Professor Dr. Murpin Joshua Sembiring as the Rector of Universitas Machung.
Thank you.
Professor Jisman Simanjunta as the Rector of Universitas Prasetya Mulia.
Good afternoon.
Dinawati Limantara, PhD, as the Rector of Universitas Pembangunan Jaya. Ms. Dia Wiharadini, PhD, as BINUS Global Director. Representative of Consortium Partners, Parahyangan Catholic University, Ghent University, Tampere University, Universitas Bina Nusantara, Universitas Prasetya Mulia, Universitas Machung, Universitas Pembangunan Jaya, Hoda School The Hague, representative of government officials, Bandung Municipality, Bagian Kerjasama Sekretariat Daerah Kota Bandung, Dispangtan LHK PD Kebersihan Kota Bandung, speakers, other lecturers, press, media, and fellow students. Excellency, the honorable guests, speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to IN2FOOD International Conference and Kickoff Project with the topic, Resolving a Societal Challenge, Interdisciplinary Approach Towards Fostering Collaborative Innovation in Food Waste Management. My name is Roslyn, and I'm going to be the MC for today's online conference. I would like to inform some rules of today's conference. First, everyone is advised to turn on their camera. Second, other than the speaker, all participants are to mute their microphone unless it is their turn to speak. I would also like to inform that this online conference is recorded and the recording will be solely used for the matter of the project. To all participants, the link of attendance list later can be found on the chat room. So I advise each participant to fill the attendance list as a requirement to get certificate for today's conference. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to watch a video performance of Parahyangan Catholic University Student Choir. So please enjoy. Awesome. There was a really great performance by student choir of Parahyangan Catholic University singing Tokecam, one of the most popular traditional songs in Indonesia. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to hear a welcoming speech delivered by Mr. Mangadar Situmorang, PhD, as the Rector of Parahyangan Catholic University. So please welcome Mr. Mangadar.
Thank you, Rosalind. A very warm selamat siang, selamat sore. A very good day to all, and especially to His Excellency Pak Dubes, Mr. Ambassador, Pak Vincent Piket. Thank you for joining this event. I have a special privilege to welcome you, especially and also on behalf of the European Union and Erasmus also. So thank you again for coming, for joining this international seminar. On behalf of Universitas Katolik Parahyangan, I would like also to say selamat siang to all our great partner from Indonesia, Pak Rector from Prasetya Mulia, Pak Rector from University of Muchang, Pak Rector atau Wakil from Binus University, dan juga Pak Rector ataupun yang mewakili from Universitas Pembangunan Jaya. So, and also of course my colleagues from Parahyangan Catholic University and all other participants across the nation. We just want to show that we are one, that we are close to each other, and we want to work together, especially in this issue raised by the team when they talk about this research or project. I would like also to greet friends, colleagues, selamat pagi, a very beautiful morning. Good morning to our colleagues, friends from European country universities, from Ghent University, Tampere University, and also from Hotel School from The Hague. Thank you again, for joining this event. Bandung, the weather is quite beautiful right now. After last week, we have a heavy rainy. But in the last 2 days, I saw it is just related to this seminar. We started with a beautiful day, and then we hope that this seminar also will run very well, and everybody joining this seminar will get benefit or all good things from this seminar. I would like also to thank you, especially to our friends who run this event, organize this event. Ibu Jo, Rati, Charles, Maria, and so on. Thank you so much. Again, Rati just left our country, just left this university for her PhD in South Korea. So we wish you the very best, and thank you just joining this seminar. I don't want to come to the topics, but the thing that I'm going to say again is our appreciation, our gratitude, thankfulness for the collaboration that we have so far among different universities in Indonesia, again among Unpar, Prasmul, Binus, Machung, and Pembangunan Jaya, and all other universities that may join, and the collaboration we have with our partner from universities in Europe. And this kind of collaboration just may happen because of the sponsor, the support from Erasmus. So again, on behalf of the consortium university, Pak Dubes, we would like to say terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya. We thank you very much for the support provided for this consortium. And then when we talk about the topic, about social challenge, in managing food waste and so on, all involved in this research, I thought is the right one to talk about it. It is not my job. I don't want to take this kind of things to be raised in this one. I will join this seminar also for me to listen, to hear, and to study more about this big issue. So we thank you for organizing this seminar. We thank you to the whole speakers. Dr. Alue Dohong, thank you, Pak. Terima kasih for sharing your time and your expertise and also about policies we have in Indonesia about this issue. Professor Jelle Saldien, thank you very much. Professor Alina and Anna Fisher, thank you very much for also joining this seminar to share with us about this big challenge. Pak Dubes, we ask you also to give us your support, and again, on behalf of all participants joining this one, we ask you also with us to officially then open this seminar. So thank you very much. Sehat selalu, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mangadar, for the welcoming speech. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Mieke Van Herreweghe as the Vice Rector of Ghent University to deliver his welcoming speech.
Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Vice Minister, dear rectors, dear colleagues, dear delegates. Unfortunately, we are not able to meet each other physically, but I am honored to have been asked to welcome you all to this digital IN2FOOD international conference and kickoff project titled Resolving a Societal Challenge, Interdisciplinary Approach Towards Fostering Collaborative Innovation in Food Waste Management. First of all, I would like to address a word of thanks to Professor Johanna Octavia, who used to be part of Ghent University, who was a valued colleague with us. And basically, we still consider her to be part of Ghent University, since she has been acting as a real bridge builder between Ghent University and Parahyangan Catholic University, and in a broader sense, therefore also to other universities in Indonesia. And she's doing a splendid job for which we are very grateful. Also thanks to all the colleagues who spent a lot of time and energy in applying for this Erasmus Plus project, and also obviously to the European Union for funding the project. Ghent University was founded in 1817 under the rule of King William I, who was at that time King of the Netherlands. In this first year, our university had 190 students, 13 staff members, and 16 professors only, 9 of whom actually came from abroad, mainly from the Northern Netherlands and Germany. We started with 4 faculties only: arts, law, medicine, and science. Today, the university consists of 86 academic departments spread across 11 faculties. Next to Ghent, our university includes campuses in Kortrijk, and many of the colleagues present here are from the Kortrijk campus, Bruges, and Ostend, and since 2014 also a global campus in Incheon in South Korea. We currently have around 15,000 members of faculty and staff, and a total of over 47,000 students, of whom about 12% are international. Now, for Ghent University, as for many other universities in the world, sustainability and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, are of paramount importance. What we as universities need to focus on is on how we can achieve innovative research in issues related to the SDGs and to sustainability, how this is taught in higher education, and how the innovative solutions can be translated to be used in production. At Ghent University, we focus on challenge-based projects in various programs in which students are presented with problems that they have to solve in a team in a creative way. Within the ID program, we focus on, in particular, on the attitude of design thinking that we further spread both within the university and, for example, via this project to external partners. Another aspect that is important to Ghent University are the interactions with local ecosystems and different stakeholders in order to achieve impact. For example, the Design.Nexus study program and research group at Campus Kortrijk closely collaborate with local industry. In addition, the MICT, the MICT research group from the Krook, for example, focuses very much on the local ecosystem in collaboration with the city of Ghent, IMEC, and the citizen. I'm proud to be able to say that at Ghent University, we have excellent research and expertise in the domains of user research via MICT, industrial design via Design.Nexus, and the domain of food technology via the Department of Food Technology, Safety and Health. In collaboration with services such as DO, Durf Ondernemen, and Ghent University Tech Transfer, the just mentioned points ensure that entrepreneurship and ambition among students and researchers are stimulated. We consider this necessary to also achieve real societal impact with sustainability objectives such as reducing food waste. It's in the light of all of this that you need to see our enthusiasm for the project that is being kicked off today. I therefore wish you a lot of success in the following years and hope that together we'll be able to realize a more sustainable world to live in, not only for ourselves, but also for our children and grandchildren. I can therefore honestly say from the bottom of my heart that I wish you a lot of success in this challenging project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mieke. Now, I would also like to invite His Excellency Mr. Vincent Piket, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the European Union to Indonesia and Brunei Darussalam, to deliver his welcoming speech.
Thank you very much, Madam Master of Ceremony. For the floor, I greet Professor Mangadar Situmorang, the Rector of Parahyangan Catholic University in Bandung, about 3 hours down the road, or up the road if you like, from where I sit in Jakarta. I greet Professor Mieke Van Herreweghe, Vice Rector of Ghent University, a city about 80 kilometers removed from the seat of the EU, the capital of the EU, and that is the city of Brussels in Belgium. Ghent is a place I visited a lot and will visit again a lot when posted back in Brussels. Greeting to Dr. Alue Dohong, the Deputy Minister of Environment and Forestry of Indonesia. Great pleasure to meet you this afternoon. I greet the rectors of the other participating universities in this project. The universities on the Indonesian side of Bina Nusantara, BINUS here in Jakarta, Prasetya Mulia University, Machung University, and Pembangunan Jaya University. And from the European side, the University of Tampere in Finland, a very, very innovative member state of the EU. And lastly, from my home country, the Netherlands, Hotel School The Hague. The Hague was the city I lived in last before emigrating, if you like, from the Netherlands to Brussels for joining the EU. Great honor and pleasure for me to be with you this afternoon for the launch of this fantastic project, this capacity building project between 3 European partner universities and 5 Indonesian partners. Congratulations for having won this competition. Tough competition, I know it, very competitive, but you did it. And there can be only one explanation for that, and that is the quality of your proposal, the coherence of your partnership, and the vision that you have brought to the application, and the vision that I'm sure you will be bringing to the project. Congratulations, well done. The Erasmus program has financed up to now 35 projects of the capacity building variety in Indonesia only. 35 projects with 54 Indonesian universities involved. And so this is a great step forward in consolidating and further developing the relations that the EU and Indonesia have in the area of higher education. Top priority for us on the European continent, higher education, and it is a top priority here in Indonesia. And for that reason, it's fantastic that we can, through the Erasmus program, bring all your universities together for a very innovative, challenging, and experimental in some respects activity of development of education content, of courses, of software, of hardware, in order to not only promote the academic quality of the teaching and the research on your universities, but also to work for the global goals that Indonesia, as well as the EU, stand for. And that has to do with the Sustainable Development Goals. The Rector and the Vice Rector have mentioned this, top priority for all of us. And it has to do with building a sustainable way of living on our planet, the one and only planet we have to live on. And for that reason, it is essential that policymakers, of course, work for sustainability, but they do so, of course, thanks to the strength and thanks to the inputs, thanks to the research done by academic institutions. That is what the project will be developing, and I very much look forward to the result. The relations between Indonesia and the European Union are very good, and they're growing. We expect that in the coming couple of years, we will be able, by building on what we have, we'll be able to give it another boost. And first of all, in the area of trade and investment, thanks to the negotiation of our future broad and deep free trade agreement. We call it the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, CEPA. That's one. Secondly, by boosting the green agenda between Indonesia and the European Union. Now, the green agenda is an absolute top priority in Europe, together with, after the COVID crisis, evidently. But for the medium to long term, we believe that we cannot do anything but go green, go sustainable in all sectors, in the economy and in the way we live. We're keen to build partnerships for this with Indonesia for obvious reasons, the size of your country, geographically, and population-wise, the size of your natural resources, your forest, your biodiversity, your seas. Essential that we support Indonesia in preserving these qualities and helping you to make a sustainable use of these for your economic growth is vital, but also for your long-term sustainability. Sustainability that matters for your country, Indonesia, and that matters equally for the European Union. The current project will make a contribution to that. I'm very happy that so many excellent institutions have found each other in order to put it together, to make the application and to win. Such an achievement cannot be realized without the support from hosts of participants, faculty, administrators of the universities that are involved. But it will only pay off really if the students, the professors, the teachers in all departments collaborate with each other on this, and also make sure that results of the project will be benefiting and fed to the student undergrads and postgrads. So fantastic opportunity, fantastic task as well, for which I wish you every success. I hope and I'm confident that the project will be successful. And secondly, I'm confident that it will build lasting links, sustainable links, if you like, between your universities at all levels and in all disciplines that you have in common. Thank you very much indeed, and success. Terima kasih banyak, and I wish you a very interesting conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vincent Piket, for allocating time to be part of today's conference out of your tight schedule. So that's all for the welcoming speech. And now the preliminary presentation about IN2FOOD is about to begin. I would like to invite Dr. Johanna Reni Octavia as a primary coordinator of IN2FOOD project from Parahyangan Catholic University to give a presentation about introduction to IN2FOOD project and consortium. So please welcome Dr. Johanna Reni Octavia.
Thank you for the introduction, Ms. Saldien, our Master of Ceremony for today. A very good afternoon for my fellow Indonesians or people in Indonesia. Selamat sore, selamat pagi, and also a very good morning for our colleagues and friends in Europe. I believe it's still snowy there. First of all, I would like to thank you, His Excellency Mr. Vincent Piket, for your opening speech. Professor Mieke Van Herreweghe, thank you, Mieke, for being here. My warm regards to Rick, please. And also Mr. Mangadar Situmorang for your warm and encouraging opening speeches. And also I'd like to extend my gratitude to all the rectors of our consortium partners, the partner coordinators, all consortium members for your support and collaboration happening so far. It was such an honor for us at Parahyangan Catholic University to have the opportunity to be the coordinating institution of this project and to work together with such distinguished consortium partners. Please allow me as the primary coordinator to introduce our Erasmus Plus IN2FOOD project and consortium to all conference attendees coming from academia, so our fellow lecturers and students, government entities and NGOs, industry and business, our media friends, and also our fellow citizens of Indonesia. So, as you may all know, that the IN2FOOD project is an Erasmus plus capacity building in the field of higher education, co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. So basically, it's a capacity building project where these are mainly the activities that we will do in the next 3 years. So we will do some training, we will learn, we'll transfer some knowledge, we'll have some skills building, coaching, support, and development. And to give an overview to our IN2FOOD project, so this is the title of our project, Resolving a Societal Challenge, Interdisciplinary Approach Towards Fostering Collaborative Innovation in Food Waste Management, or also abbreviated as IN2FOOD. So basically, there are 3 key concepts, let's say, in this project. So we have the food waste issues, and we have also the issues or the approach of interdisciplinary that we would like to integrate in the higher education learning, and also to integrate the 21st century skills education. Because as we know, we are in the 21st century, and we also would like to embed or to integrate or to that our students learn this 21st century skills and also societal challenges and issues. So why this project is important? So basically it concerns of the societal challenges around us, which are basically generally a complex and wicked problems, which which needs collaboration across disciplines or interdisciplinary approach. So we cannot stand alone to solve this societal challenge, but we need to collaborate between disciplines, among disciplines, to foster innovation as solutions, promising solutions to these societal challenges. And we take food waste as a societal challenge in this project, because the issue of food security in our world, that by 2050, that we have a greater demand for food, that about 9 billion people that must be fed by food. And also the issue of food waste, that we have 1/3 of the world's food at the moment that are being wasted. So by 2030, it is estimated it will rise to 2.1 billion tons. And in particular, in Indonesia, we have a serious or alarming situation that beside that we are the 4th largest population, about 260 million, we are also the 2nd largest food waster, according to Barilla in 2016, of the world after Saudi Arabia. So this is why we raised these food waste issues in this project. We also would like to integrate the 21st century skills into the higher education curriculum. So basically, these 12 abilities, learning skills, I believe that. Sorry, was internet connection. And also, it's important for our students to learn and work across discipline. So basically, the project goal is to ensure that us as the beneficiary, Indonesian partner university, that we have the capabilities to deal with societal challenges in Indonesia through education and research, promoting interdisciplinary and collaborative innovation in food waste management. So how we are going to do that? So these are the specific objects that we would like to modernize courses. We would like also to carry out some co-curricular activities for the students. We would like to inaugurate a research center and also come with a draft of a curriculum design that is, all of these are interdisciplinary. And how we are going to achieve that? We are going to achieve this by network of collaboration, transfer of knowledge, and also exchange of best practices with our European partners. So as you may all know that the project is for 3 years. So we have started actually a month ago, 15 January 2021, and it will last until 15 January 2024. And yes, we are very lucky that Mr. Vincent Piket, you said that we won the competition, let's say. So it is a success rate of 16%. So out of 1,005 submissions, we are one of the 164 proposals that is selected out of these submissions. And we are also the second Erasmus capacity building project with an Indonesian university as the coordinating institution. So as you can see here, just some figures that I took from the European Commission, that for 2020 we have 7 capacity building all over Indonesia, running all over Indonesia, which 2 of them are coordinated by Indonesia with all calls. Yeah, so one is 2018, and for this year's only us, the IN2FOOD project is the project that is coordinated by Indonesia. So a little bit about the consortium itself. This is the figure, let's say, to give an overview of where we are located. So all of the partner countries is in Indonesia. So we have 5 partner universities in Indonesia. And from the program countries, we have 3 universities from Belgium, Finland, and the Netherlands. So these are the consortium. We have 8 partners. This is just a figure that we took from our online kickoff or starting date meeting that we had last month. And here is the IN2FOOD team. So we are an interdisciplinary team of 50 members from 8 universities. So you can all see our faces here. Yeah, so we are on its own, we are an interdisciplinary team. So what we will do throughout this project, so these are the work packages that we will have for the next 3 years. There are 7 from preparation and exploration until project management with different leaders. And first of all, we would like to modernize our courses. So basically, it's a curriculum development project where we are going to modernize some courses to apply interdisciplinary approach and 21st century skills learning, and also to embed the education and research of food waste issues and its management solutions to the courses. And one of the innovative part of this curriculum development project is that we are going to apply the quadruple helix collaboration model. So we are going to work closely with industry, with public authorities, governments, and also citizens. So the main project deliverables from the course modernization is the interdisciplinary course syllabi and materials and interdisciplinary curriculum design. So these modernized courses is to be implemented by lecturers from all consortium partners and open for students from other universities as well. So this goes very nicely with the program from the Indonesian government, Campus Merdeka. So we have 24 courses so far that are going to be modernized from 5 Indonesian universities, about 76 credit points. So this is just to give an overview of what are the courses that are going to be modernized in all of the Indonesian partners. And we would also have some co-curricular activities such as summer school, student conference, and also student competition that are all interdisciplinary and to be attended by students from all consortium partners and other universities as well. Last but not least is the research center development. So this is one of the project deliverables that we will also have an interdisciplinary research center to be established and inaugurated at our university that would facilitate collaborative interdisciplinary research focusing on innovation to address societal challenges in Indonesia. And this will be jointly funded by the European university involved in this project. So hopefully this will foster the future research collaboration between Indonesian and European university. So these are some themes or societal challenges that is inspired by the European Union Horizon 2020 framework, from health, food security, climate action, until secure societies. So my main message as the primary coordinator is that there's no need for silos anymore. Let's break down the silos and collaborate to innovate in the fight against food waste for a better world. So if you like more info about our project, please connect with us. We have our email here, our website, our social media, from Instagram until TikTok. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Johanna, for the presentation. I think Dr. Alue Dohong, the Vice Minister of Environment and Forestry of the Republic of Indonesia, is already here. It is truly an honor to have you here, sir, as part of the conference. Thank you very much, Dr. Alue Dohong. So, ladies and gentlemen, the main session of this conference is about to begin. I would like to remind all participants to fill the attendance list as a requirement to get certificate of today's conference. The link can be found on the chat room. And before we go to the keynote speech session, we are going to watch a video about food waste management in Bandung. So please enjoy.
Saya Pak Ade, petugas sampah Kelurahan Sukamiskin.
Hai everyone, nama saya Kamalia Purbani. Saya ingin berbagi pengalaman inovasi yang telah dilaksanakan di Kota Bandung. Yang pertama adalah gerakan Kang Pisman. Kurangi, pisahkan, dan manfaatkan. Pada intinya, gerakan Kang Pisman merupakan gerakan 3R. Reduce, reuse, dan recycle. Istimewanya, gerakan ini sifatnya masif dan dilaksanakan oleh seluruh komponen masyarakat Kota Bandung. Yang kedua, kawasan bebas sampah. Kawasan bebas sampah merupakan sebuah kawasan di mana masyarakat mengelola sampahnya secara mandiri dengan metode yang mereka pilih sendiri, disesuaikan dengan sumber sampah dan sarana serta pengetahuan yang mereka miliki. Pada saat ini, di Kota Bandung telah terdapat 143 kawasan bebas sampah. Yang ketiga, Waste to Food. Kegiatan ini merupakan pengembangan dari gerakan Kang Pisman yang diintegrasikan dengan sektor pertanian, di mana pengolahan sampah organik yang dilakukan oleh warga diintegrasikan dengan kegiatan-kegiatan pertanian, perikanan, peternakan yang memberikan nilai tambah bagi warga masyarakat.
Waste to Food merupakan suatu konsep pengelolaan dan pengolahan sampah organik serta sampah sisa makanan yang telah diterapkan di beberapa wilayah di Kota Bandung. Ada 3 kata kunci yang dibangun berdasarkan pengembangan dari gerakan Kang Pisman, yaitu Waste, Utilization, Food. Waste, Utilization, Food adalah sebuah gambaran dari pelaksanaan pengelolaan sampah organik dan sampah makanan yang telah dilakukan warga masyarakat Kota Bandung. Pada konsep ini, keterlibatan masyarakat untuk memisahkan sampah merupakan dasar yang kita bangun melalui pengetahuan dan pendidikan. Tahapannya, sumber sampah organik dari masyarakat yang sudah terpisah akan diproses dan diintegrasikan dengan peternakan dan pertanian melalui penerapan pengolahan sampah organik dan sisa makanan. Pada akhirnya, pengolahan sampah organik dan sisa makanan dapat memberikan manfaat bagi masyarakat.
Ladies and gentlemen, the keynote speech of today's conference will be moderated by Ms. Rati Indraswari, Master of Arts, PhD candidate as a lecturer of International Relations Department at Parahyangan Catholic University. She is currently pursuing her PhD studies at Ihwa Women's University, South Korea. So without any further ado, please welcome Ms. Rati Indraswari.
Thank you, Rosalind. It is a great pleasure for us to have 4 key speakers that will share their thoughts and expertise with us today. While each key speaker will have up to 20 minutes to present their topic. I will be reminding you once the time is almost over. Then we will be having a question and answer session. And for those who would like to ask questions, kindly write it down on Zoom chat with format, your name, to whom your question is addressed, and the question itself. Well, without further ado, the first key speakers come from Dr. Alue Dohong, the Vice Minister, Ministry of Environment and Forestry of the Republic of Indonesia. Dr. Alue Dohong will present keynote speech on fighting food waste in Indonesia, facts and challenges. Well, it is an honor to have you here, sir. The time is yours.
Thank you, Mbak Rati, moderators, for this great chance to present my presentation, and please allow me to share my presentation here.
Sure.
Right. So again, it is my pleasure to present to all of you about the topic of fighting food waste in Indonesia, facts and challenges. And this is not just merely about food waste. I think my presentation is merely about setting up basic policy of how to handling waste in Indonesia, especially government policy, as well as some practices that have been conducted on the ground. So I have more or less 30 slides in my presentation. I do hope that I can spend on 25 minutes as given by you to finish up this presentation. Ladies and gentlemen and all students that join this seminar, I think there are 5 main programs of waste management in Indonesia currently. First of all, of course, still weak capacity of the local government in order to handle this kind of waste issues. And secondly, is a lack of awareness as well as producer responsibility. And I believe also there's a lack of awareness of the community, in doing handling or sorting any kind of a waste that we produce. And the third main issue is increase trends of plastic waste composition into the waste profile in Indonesia. And for this weakened law enforcement, we still admitted that our law enforcement in terms of, doing this waste issues is still not really tight, but I think we are going, toward this more tightly in the next feature. And the last issue is actually scrap papers imported mixed with waste sometimes. So not merely just scrap papers. Oh. All right. Next is I want to show you all. Can you see my presentation there? It seems like something happened. All right. Okay. So this kind of waste generation in Indonesia profile in 2019. And if we see from the sources of waste, we can see that households constitute the largest producer of our waste. So around 62% of it. And in the second place, actually, traditional market was contribute nearly 13% of the whole waste that we produce nationally. And the third place is commercial centers, 7%, and the rest is the remaining is other sectors like office, public facilities, areas, and others. And
Dr. Alue, I'm sorry, but your presentation doesn't move. It just stuck in the first page. Would you able to share it?
I can see mine now. I'll start it from the beginning, yeah? Let's check it out again.
Okay. It's.
Can you see?
We can see it, but.
Now?
We can see it, but it's still stuck on the same page, Dr. Alue, but.
This one?
Yeah, this is the second page.
Is that right? So the graphs, can you see it?
No, not the graphs.
Oh, yeah? I don't know what happened actually.
That's okay. Maybe you don't have to make it a big one, only just...
I just stopped it first and then I started from the beginning, okay?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Alue.
Hang on. So what is happening here? Now I share it again.
Yeah, maybe just keep it like this, Dr. Alue. So.
All right, okay. So if you see here.
Yes, we can see it.
Can you see it, right?
Yes.
All right, if you see the composition here, I mean, from the source of waste, I already mentioned it, from the composition of waste type, actually, you see like 44% of our national waste type actually come from food waste. So it's really big, And the second place is from plastic, like 15%, and the next is wood or leaves, twigs, about 13%, and the remaining other like peppers, glass, and so on. And if we see about the condition of our landfill system in Indonesia currently in 2019, nearly 60% of our landfill system now is still open dumping, non-open dumping, right? Yeah, and the remaining 40% is like open dumping. So it's still a bigger challenge in the municipalities, in the cities, to have this non-open dumping waste handling system. And in our regulation, I mean, we have, we call it national national strategy of waste management. We have a key performance indicators. For example, by 2025, we have waste management capacity up to 100%. In 2019, we still, 32%. And then we have target to have waste reduction up to 30%. Meanwhile, in 2019, around 3%. So it's still a huge gap. Waste handling, our target is up to 70% and so on. And you can see from the presentation. Solid waste management policy, as stated in law number 18 years 2008, we have changed paradigm in terms of manage the solid waste. First of all, before 2008, for example, our policy just end of pipe solution, where we see the waste as a pollutant loads, no waste reduction, no waste to resource, no resource efficiency, and so on. And between 2018 and up to 2015, we try to reduce these 3 R's and extended producer responsibility, where we try to reduce waste as a pollutant loads, and then reduction of source at source, and then waste to resources and resource efficiency, and limit to genuine resource extraction. And we also introduce producer responsibility. But from 2015 up to now, we now introduce, we call it circular economy, or circularity, and also green growth, where we try to see waste as a new life of, of our community as long as possible. And then we focus on the resource efficiency, and then we try to promote this circularity of economy circularity, we call it. We not see waste as just something useless, no economic value, but now we try to see a new value out of it. And then we also promote sustainable cities and communities according to the Sustainable Development Goals number 11. And we also move toward responsible consumption and production as one of the SDGs goals number 13. And our national, it's the wrong type, is a national target on solid waste management. We, as I mentioned earlier, our target actually by 2025, we want to, to reduce about 30% of our waste reduction target. And then we also have a target to handling out 70% of our waste in 2025. So there are indicators related with this. First, in terms of 30% reduction, we have indicators that waste per capita reduce, and then waste resource reduce, especially implementation of 3 R's through communities, and then leaking of waste to the environment will be reduced. And for the 70% waste handling, we hope that the waste handling through recycling, composting, biogas, thermal recovery, RDF, etc., increase in the future. And then waste to landfill reduce, and then the leaking of waste to the environments can be reduced too. And if we see the national target on reducing and handling waste as mandated in the presidential decree number 97 year 2017, we can see this target, right? And if you see in these tables, our projection of waste total in 2025 up to 70.3 million ton waste. And if we see right now in 2020, for example, like already 97.8 million tons. And target of waste reduction out of this production, the waste production, into 2020, we already achieved like 14%. So still a lot of the target need to be achieved. And for handling, we now at the 50.8% or around 75% of what we produced in 2020. And this is what we call it a national waste management gap. Yeah. So as I said earlier, we have target to reduce our waste up to 30% by 2025 and handling waste up to 70% by 2025. But in 2019, for example, we already achieved around, let's say, 15% of handling reduction, about the reduction, and 35% of the handling. So still quite earning gaps that we need to achieve in the futures. And national policy strategy on solid waste management. Look at this still in some Bahasa. So I think I just mixed between English and Bahasa. I do hope all of you understand about this. For example, we have regulation and norm standard and what we call NSP, normal standard and procedure norms and standard. And we have international collaboration. We have SWM improvement, and we have producer responsibility, and we have community information and training. So all these kind of activities and so on, I don't want to elaborate on detail because you can see in the screen. And we have also a policy in terms of reducing plastic waste. First of all, our strategy is to redesign and innovation of this plastic waste through recyclability, reusability, compostability, durability, and so on. And we also try to reduce at the source of this plastic waste, especially through the limitation of use of unnecessary single-use plastic. And we also promote this, we call it green public procurement, green office or eco office, and green school or campus. And I think University of Parahyangan can also be leading on this. Community-based 3Rs, and we call it bank sampah or garbage bank or waste bank, what we call it. And then public participation and law enforcement. I think this one is very important one. So we have a Hari Peduli Sampah Nasional, National Waste Care Day. That's what we call. Every year we try to engage so many, as many stakeholders in doing, one day collecting, sorting waste in the environment, for example. We have also National Waste Management Information System, public campaign, seminar like what we have right now, exhibition, dialogues, talk show, and so on. And the next strategy is to increasing waste total through the norm, standard, the procedure, and criteria. And we also provide subsidy to the local government through special allocation budget and what we call the district incentive fund. And then we also have a green infrastructure, capacity building, technology support, monitoring and evaluation, EPR implementation, and so on. And the last one, plastic product and plastic goods. We try to eliminate unnecessary and avoidable single-use plastic. I think several districts already have this kind of regulation to what we call it to stop the use of a single plastic bag into their supermarket and so on. Reducing over packaging and reducing multi-flexible plastic. And next is about circular economy in waste management sector. There are a couple of activities now that have been carried out in Indonesia. For example, we promote this recyclable recycle industry, and then waste bank or garbage bank. I think some many now in municipalities and so on in cities to establish this, we call it garbage bank, and then TPS 3R, and then trash collecting agency, recycling center. I think in Jakarta, in Bandung, in a couple of cities, in big cities in Indonesia, they already have this recycling center from Ministry of Environment. We support them. And informal sector, social entrepreneur and social movement, like waste donation and so on. Waste management approach, there are 3 approaches actually that we try to promote at the moment, the government want to promote. First is eco-living through waste minimum waste, and then circular economy and services technology. For example, like eco-living or waste minimum, yeah. First basic concept of it is actually solid waste problem can be resolved through change in behaviors. These are, I think, the major important in this Indonesia. Yeah, if we not change our mindset, if the community and the whole stakeholders not change their behaviors toward eco-living, that can be very difficult for us to achieve our goals. First is change in behaviors. It's easy said than done sometimes, because this needs, awareness from the inside of the individual. And then waste reduction, prevention, and limitation. This concept actually thinkings in very well developed, especially among young people at the moment, millennials. We have like a big bonus demography, or we call it demography bonus, yeah. And I think they can play a big role in this change of behavior toward eco-living. And there are a couple of minimum target of waste approach. For example, again, we try to use a single-use plastic bag, and then culturally plastic straw and styrofoam and so on has to be passing down in 2029. And then second, about circular economy. Actually, basic concept, I think all of us already understand very well about this concept. Actually, we want to solve the solid waste that we use, and we can use it in economic way, especially through this sorting waste behaviors and recycling technology. So we do hope that this kind of activities can create another value of this waste, And currently there are circular economies ecosystem that we develop, for example, like recycling industry. Again, this garbage or waste bank, TPS 3Rs, and recycling centers, informal sector like scavengers, collectors, social entrepreneurs. Supporting circular economic condition. Right now, government provide fiscal incentive actually to the industrial recycling, domestic scrap, and waste raw material, and then the scrap import policy like paper, plastic, metal, rubbers, and etc. The policy to reduce the phase down import of scrap will be indirectly increase the potential for domestic waste to become industry of raw material. And the third one, actually, we try to, again, to promote this extended producer responsibility policy. And the last one is standardization of recycling product, and followed by policies to encourage the use of recycling center. Service and technology, basic concept actually, we try to advance the concept of collecting, transportation of waste, where possible, where problem can be solved through service by local government and technological approach. And then basic value of For example, we use of technology like landfill, waste to energy, RDF, etc., and 100% services. Waste management technology, again, material recovery facility, recycling industry, composting industry, thermal technology, plastic to fuel technology, refuse derived fuel technology, waste to energy, and waste to electricity. I think we can, if you want to see, like in Bantar Gebang in Surabaya, we now to change, to use this waste as electricity generation. And in the picture, this kind of technology, we're gonna scale up to another cities, I think, because these are very potential, like a waste to energy. We have put some of the regulation, for example, Act number 18/2008 concerning solid waste management, and also Presidential Regulation number 25/2018 concerning waste-based power plant acceleration in 12 cities, and also Minister of Environment Forestry Regulation as a basic rule base to implement all this kind of waste to energy. And we also have improvement of landfill methane gas utilization as energy source. For example, there was a significant improvement of municipalities, agencies number that utilize landfill methane gas as a source of energy. I mentioned like Surabaya, Semarang, and Jakarta, and also methane capture as a gas already in 110 cities. The need of analysis of solid waste pellets in Indonesia as co-firing of coal plants, PLTU, we call that. There's also big potential in order to do this. For example, these are still very, very, very small scale, but I think we have a very big potential in the future to achieve this. Also in the technology of RDF in in cement. What happened with this presentation? I don't know, right? I changed it. Industry, like 5% of co-firing coal. We also try now to promote this. For example, like Cement Indonesia Group now, they have the volume. They produce now around 665 tons, yeah, and daily like 2,200, and other cement factory also. I think there's also bigger potential that we can use it in the region. So these are co-firing implementation in 52 plants by our PLN or state electricity company. And I don't want to detail on. You can see in the maps distribution of these 52 plants. Next is about biodigester. Biogas actually a type of biofuel that naturally produced from the composition of organic matters. And biodigester is often called as a biogas building. Namely, a close to tank contain organic material fermented and thus producing biogas as energy, which also accompanied by fertilizer from this organic waste. And this kind of, we call it bio conversion or black soldier fly, for example, is a picture of it. And the use of BASF, larva as organic waste processor is a good opportunity actually, because we can harvest this BASF larva can be used as a source of protein or for animal feed or livestock, and then can we also become alternative for feed substitute, for conventional feed and product liquid fertilizer with high amino acid and compost. That's kind of example of BASF life cycle. I think I don't want to detail on that. and this kind of BSF cultivation output. So that's why I said we produce a larva that can be animal feeds for other livestock, and also liquid organic fertilizer that can be used for agriculture and composting. I think that mainly my presentation. I do hope you can capture all of it. But yeah, again, this is about general policy and practices of waste management in Indonesia. So thank you all for your kind attention. I give it to Ibu Ratih. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Alue, for your presentations. Now I will move to the next key speaker. The next key speaker will come from Ghent University, Professor Jelle Saldien, with topic Empowering People in Order to Tackle Sustainability Problems. Professor Jelle.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
inviting me. I'm just gonna try to start my presentation here.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. I'll try to go full screen. You still seeing my presentation?
Yeah, it starts with the sustainability.
Yes. So you don't see the intro slide? No.
No, I think it's best not to do the presentation.
Not showing the slideshow.
Yeah.
Maybe like this.
You can turn off the, yeah.
Okay. So first I want to again congratulate also Johanna and thank her for involving us in this nice project, and also inviting me to give a short talk on how we from Ghent University and specifically from our research group Mieke are looking at sustainability, sustainable problems. As our Vice Rector Mieke Van Herreweghe already told, sustainability is an important aspect at Ghent University. And from our research group from Mieke, we try to tackle this by looking at the people, by empowering people, and doing this through different ways, doing user research and also via methods as design thinking. But first, let's have a look at which are the three pillars on sustainability. So also there we have, of course, the planet, the environment, which is very important. We have profit, so we have to have an economy that it's profitable, that gives people jobs, that makes people earn money. But then, of course, the people, they are very important. And if we want to create sustainability, we have to make sure that all these three elements are in balance with each other and are actually sustainable. So most of these sustainability problems are actually caused by human behavior. If we look at how food is produced, we actually start from the planet, from our environment. We shape our environment, we transform our environment to produce as much food as possible, to produce as much food as efficient as possible. Then we also look at preparing this food. And in most cultures around the world, we have a lot of traditions that involve food and offering food to people. So in most cultures, we invite people, being friends, being family, maybe colleagues from work. I think if we weren't having this conference online, probably we would be already thinking of the lunch we would be having together or the dinner we would be having together with all of us. And one thing that is also typically when we have these food gatherings is that we want to offer plenty of food. We don't want people to feel that they don't have enough food. So also there is a very cultural aspect about offering food to other people and offering as much as possible food so other people can enjoy it. So due to our social behavior, in most settings, there will be plenty of food, but a big part of this food will go to waste. So an easy solution for this would be to say, okay, we have to change human behavior. And there are different ways of changing human behavior. Government has tried a lot of ways to change behavior. I think now in the pandemic, we see that governments try to change behavior of people, but this is not always easy. People are used to their patterns, used to their traditions, used to their habits, and changing this behavior is very difficult. So, to quote maybe someone that has been quoted a lot, we cannot solve our problems, and definitely not sustainability problems, with thinking in the same way we used when we created these problems. So we have to think differently. And I think there is the core of the method that we call design thinking. So design thinking is, it's not only a method, it's also a very new way or old way of thinking that has been reintroduced not only in design education, but also in management, in a lot of business, in order to be innovative and in order to tackle more, as also Johanna said it, more wicked problems, more societal problems. So apart from being a way of thinking, it's also giving you a bit of a structure, a bit of a method by going through different phases. So let's look at these phases a bit more in detail. First, you try to understand the problems. So by empathizing, by defining where are the problems and where are the problems situated, by which people are they situated. Then we try to explore. So when we find who we are talking about, when we define which are their problems, their needs, their desires, we can start by ideating, by exploring different ideas. So we call this diverging and converging, this creative mindset. And we always select ideas and then put them into tangible prototypes in order to test which things are work, which things don't work, and then we iterate on them. So you see a lot of these arrows. So we focus a lot on iteration. And at the end, but for design thinking, it's never the end, when tests prove that some of the ideas are good enough, some of the prototypes do work, we try to implement them as soon as possible in their ecosystems. But then again, it's not because we have found one solution or part of a solution that when it's implemented, we do not keep iterating and research again and try to understand better what the implementation gives for new problems. So at our research group, in order to help our students, our researchers with this design thinking method, we also developed a user innovation toolbox. As I said, we start with the people, we start with the user, and you have lots of techniques in order to better understand the problems, to better find solutions for these problems. So with the user innovation toolbox, it's a big toolbox with all kinds of techniques. We offer ways, we offer paths. It's like a GPS for guiding you towards the solutions that tackle these problems. So if we start with the first phase of the design thinking process, there we look at changing this human behavior. We first start with understanding the people. So we observe, we ask people about their lives, about their needs, about their desires, about their wishes, and we build persona. Personas are models of our users that can help within the design process to represent these users and take their message, their stories with us. So by doing these interviews, we try to uncover their emotions. We try to understand why they behave, and we try to understand the way they behave. So the message here is we need to seek for the stories that are behind the people. So there are different techniques and tools, as I mentioned. And also I like to point out this figure. So this is a model made by Stappers and Sanders from Dutch University. So, and it really gives a good image on what we need to investigate. So we look firstly at what people say, what people think. We can do this by doing interviews, by asking them questions, by doing surveys, but there we get very explicit knowledge. If you want to dig deeper, it's already good to start with observations. So not asking people why they are doing things, but just looking at them and seeing why they do things they do, seeing patterns, how they use things. So focusing on this more observable knowledge. And we can dig even deeper. So one of the things we do a lot are co-creation sessions. So we involve users, very interdisciplinary, different users, different stakeholders, and we work with them together working on their solutions, trying to figure out not only what they say or what they do, but actually what they want, what they feel, what they dream. And most of the time, a lot of the people we see, a lot of the users we investigate already started finding solutions for their own problem. Sometimes they didn't know it, so it's more latent knowledge. Sometimes we have to bring this knowledge that maybe one of the users have already found one solution for their problem. We have to make it more tacit. We have to provide the technology, we have to help them, we have to empower them. So, and this is what we do in the second phase. So we try to create human-centric problem statements. So when we define who is the user, empathize with the user, we try to redefine a bit what are the problems. So we start with these needs of the people, their desires. We then look at possibilities of technology, what is feasible, and we combine it with the viability of new business models. We look at which are the requirements to also be successful. Maybe also look at regulations that are in place. And then we focus on all these different stories. For example, how can we help these farmers? Is in Maharashtra in India. So their problem is they need to get stable prices for their milk. So we have to start looking at why are the milk prices fluctuating so much? Is it a governmental issue? Is it a global issue? And how can we help them? Or, for example, how can we help Kartika? Kartika each day goes to the market, but the problem is at the market, she has to sell the vegetables which are ripe at that moment, because if she can't sell these ripe vegetables, they go to waste. So maybe it's not a problem on dealing with the waste, but it's more an economical problem on selling goods, selling the goods that are ripe at the right moment. The third phase on the design thinking deals with this ideation. So it focuses on creativity. You get inspired and you brainstorm, and try within your brainstorm focus on more radical ideas. So a bit thinking out of the box. So going for creative and very open mindsets. So this is what we train our students, our researchers, with creative thinking. And creative thinking is not so much about knowledge, but it's rather also an attitude. So open the mindset and get a lot of inspiration how other people do it, and don't be critical. So maybe a small story to illustrate this. So a long time ago, it was in the United States, there was this truck driver that wanted to go under a bridge. Unfortunately, his truck was too large. So he crashed into the bridge and his truck was stuck. The all of people from the village came and looked, the policemen, the firemen, they all tried to find solutions, pushing the truck, pulling the truck, making it worse. But then there was one child standing, looking aside the road, looking at the picture from afar, and he said, "Hey, but why don't you just let out the air in the tires so the truck goes down?" So they did, and they could rescue the truck. So with this story, I just want to say that you have to be very open and sometimes look from different perspectives. That's why we try to take these challenges also from an interdisciplinary view. And also I like here also that mostly children are very, very good at creative thinking. They look at the world differently, without prejudice, without rules that are already in place. And this can help with this talent creation of creative thinking. Next, we try to prototype. So when you have ideas, even crazy ideas, you build stuff. You build stuff to see what works and what doesn't work. So don't be afraid to hack things, to be a bit creative. So next, we test things. We test the things to understand people. So here is a nice example. You see two plates. The two plates have the same amount of food. But when these plates are offered to people, a 3 centimeter in diameter reduction, when you see on the right side, so the smaller plate offers 26% reduction in food waste, because people think the smaller plate has less food, so they will eat all the food, while the bigger plate looks bigger and they leave the food. So a very simple design can already have a big impact, in this sense, 26% reduction of food waste. Another example, so going back to the buffet picture you saw in the beginning, if we start to asking why are people behaving the way they behave, take the buffet at a restaurant. one of the problems is that people fill their plate with as much food as possible because they think it's free. So free food, okay, let's take as much food as possible on my plate, because if I take too much, that's no problem because it's free anyway. But I can only go once, and that is what most of the people think. So they placed this sign at their buffet in the hotel saying, "Welcome back again and again. Visit our buffet many times. It's better to come back than taking a lot at once." By only placing this sign, a very friendly sign, 20.5% reduction in food waste was constated. So testing these things helps us to understand people, understand their behavior, and why food is wasted. And once you implement these things, you can start to empower people. And you see a lot of examples happening throughout the world. It's called also positive design. So here you see examples. This is in the London Metro, that are used to reduce taking the stairs and taking the escalators and improve people to be a bit more moving, and so improving their health. Another example is this. So by informing people, we try to implement these design issues in the real world in order to empower these people. And maybe by doing so, save a bit the planet, as you can see in this example from WWF. So this was my 20-minute presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions later.
Thank you. It's really interesting. Professor Jelle, I think in Indonesia, because we are like really lazy to walk, maybe we should have all those design and road or everything, so that we can actually try to walk a little bit more. The next speaker, I would like to invite Associate Professor Elina Narvanen from Tampere University. She will deliver topic on managing the weak problem of food waste. Elina? Yes, we can see the point.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can see you. I cannot see you yet.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you, and I can see your PowerPoint.
Okay, just a second. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Elina Narvanen, and I'm an Associate Professor of Services and Retailing here at Tampere University in Finland. It is an honor for me to be giving this keynote today on the topic of managing the wicked problem of food waste. And I wish to thank all the other partners, and especially Unpar and Johanna, for inviting us to this project and for organizing the great kickoff seminar as well. Together with my colleagues, we have been focusing on the issue of food waste for the past about 5 years in several different research projects. For us, being part of the IN2FOOD consortium will be a wonderful opportunity to create social impact from our research and expertise. And we aspire to also give our best knowledge and support for the Indonesian partners, with both the EU and Indonesian partners, to help address this problem and to find solutions together in the forthcoming years. Today, I wish to give a short overview of the food waste problem, that, as well as present a framework that we have created together with my colleagues to map out solutions for food waste reduction and prevention. So when we think about the problem of food waste, this is genuinely a global challenge. On the one hand, we also have a problem with food security, which is worsening all the time. So to feed all of the people on the planet, we actually need a lot of food. And according to the FAO, which is the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, the demand for food is increasing all the time. At the same time, we are also wasting more food. According to estimates, it might be up to 1/3 of all food that is produced, which actually goes to waste throughout the food supply chain. And out of this amount, already 14% is wasted at the beginning of the food chain. In other words, between the farmers and then the retailing system. And if we could fix the food waste issue, it would help us to also alleviate the food poverty and food security problem. Food waste is a multifaceted problem, so it has several different kinds of consequences, both environmental ones, social ones, and economic ones. And here is a depiction of the environmental impacts created. This picture has been created by the UN Environment Programme. And here you can see that it is not just the emissions, the greenhouse gas emissions that are a problem that come from the actual waste, but also all of the natural resources that have gone into producing the food in the first place, such as water and agricultural land use. And according to studies, if food waste and food loss could be prevented close to the farms, then we would be effectively able to address food insecurity and alleviate the stress on both the land and the water. Then on the other hand, if we can reduce food waste downstream at the retailer, grocery store, restaurant, and consumer levels, then we would be effectively cutting greenhouse gas emissions and thereby reducing the impact of climate change globally. Furthermore, wasting food is ethically and morally problematic. It also creates economic losses for the various companies that are involved in the food chain, such as farmers and retailers, restaurants, and hotels. Reducing food waste can thus be motivated from all of these different perspectives, and this is a good thing. It engages different stakeholders to continue the battle against the problem. Here you can see the FAO's depiction of all of the different stages in the food supply chain where edible food is lost. And FAO divides this problem into two sides, where the first side consists of food loss and the second side of food waste. It is generally argued that food loss is a bigger problem in developing economies and food waste in the developed economies. But we argue that both of these dimensions are important and they should not be neglected. So we cannot just pay attention to reducing food loss or food waste. Often these dimensions also go together and they are intertwined. Food loss covers stages from farms to the logistic operations when food is transported to the retailing system. And there are several things that influence food loss here. At the farm level, it is a question of, for instance, whether the people who engage in farming and harvesting activities, are they skilled enough and knowledgeable enough to avoid losses? And do they have the technologies and the equipment required? Also, whether farmers are paid enough to actually harvest everything that they produce may be a problem that contributes to food losses. Sometimes it's more financially beneficial for them to leave food unharvested. Then at the food storage phase, it's a question of, for instance, adequate facilities, access to energy, and also pests and rodents may contribute to food losses at this stage. Access to modern packaging materials and technologies, as well as logistic capacity for transporting and distributing the food properly, may contribute to food losses here. And then when we go to the food waste side, so everything from retailers to consumer households, issues relate to how, for instance, food manufacturers handle the food, how it's being transported from factories to retailers, stores, marketplaces, wholesalers, and so on, and how it's been handled there. Retailers' pricing and marketing techniques also play a role here. There are things like being able to predict consumer demand appropriately, planning, contract procedures with food manufacturers and farmers. And then, of course, restaurants and hotels also handle food and have their role to play here as well, as do the households that finally purchase and consume the food. At this stage, the different skills related to, for instance, shopping for food, planning for that, then also storing food at home and cooking it have a role to play here. The implicit norms and values that people have with regard to wasting food are also important, as are the everyday routines that may easily result in food waste unless people pay attention to it routinely. Thus, food waste is connected to all of these different actors and action points. This makes the problem difficult to solve, but on the other hand, there are many, many opportunities to influence it as well. So here you can see on this slide the EU's goal of reducing food waste. In the recent years, food waste has been raised to the political agendas globally. The UN has set the Sustainable Development Goals, where reducing food waste is mentioned as a particular measurable target. And the EU has committed to reducing food waste and has had several initiatives both at the level of EU and the nation states and also different regions. In France and Italy also already legislative actions have taken place. Here you can see a screenshot of the EU platform on food losses and food waste. This was set up a few years ago to gather together the knowledge, experts and stakeholders around the issue. The website contains a lot of information about the issue, also efforts to solve it, and tools and tips for different actors who wish to tackle this problem. There have also been several EU-funded research projects, such as the Fusions project, which is mentioned here, and a new project called IN2FOOD. You can see the logo of that project there. And our team from Tampere University is also part of that project. It has just started in December, and it actually intends to test the different food waste reduction and prevention innovations in different food supply chains. Being part of this other EU project will give us further insights also regarding IN2FOOD's efforts of reducing food waste in Indonesia. Me and my colleagues Nina Mesiranta, Malla Mattila and Anna Heikkinen have edited an international book about food waste management. The book was published last year by Palgrave Macmillan, and it contains different chapters on food waste solutions and also an introductory chapter with this framework that you can see here. So we created this framework as a research effort or research-based tool to map out the solutions that are introduced in our book for the reduction of food waste. It is partly also based on the conceptualization of wicked problems by Weber and Kademian in 2008. First of all, food waste is an unstructured problem. So its causes and effects are difficult to distinguish and identify. And there is still no consensus regarding the problem and how it should be defined. For instance, how to calculate and measure food waste and how to distinguish it from other issues relevant to sustainability. Then food waste is also a wicked problem as it is cross-cutting. As I explained in my presentation, it involves several stakeholders with various interests. In addition to the stakeholders within the food supply chain, such as the farmers, retailers, and consumers, the political decision makers are also included here. The stakeholders, they sometimes have to make trade-offs to address the food waste issue. For instance, we heard about the reduction of plastics as a strategy to address sustainability in Indonesia. So if we pay attention to that issue, then more effort is directed away from any other sustainability issues that might be important. So we need to really balance between these different issues. Food waste is also a wicked problem because solving it requires continuous effort. This means that we cannot find solutions that would end the need to tackle the issue once and for all. Even if we continuously care for and pay attention to food waste, it will not disappear completely. Then again, the solutions that are found on the problem, they also influence other sustainability issues, such as poverty and food security. And the different solutions, they also might change the understanding of the food waste problem. So for instance, if we use food waste as a resource for producing energy, it may change the problem from change the issue from being perceived as a problem to being perceived as a valuable resource for energy production. Toward the edges of the figure here, you can see the labels for the different types of solutions that we argue are needed. They range from changing how people feel and believe by changing the socio-cultural meanings related to waste, changing people's and actors' behaviors, as well as innovating different solutions like social and technological solutions for the problem. And finally, also acknowledging that actors and activities are to be connected to larger systems is also needed. This is one practical tool that you can see on this slide for developing and prioritizing solutions for the food waste problem. It is used commonly in the US and in Europe to think about which solutions would have the most useful impact on the problem. So at the top here, you have the solutions that are recommended. The best thing, of course, is not to create any food surplus at all, trying to prevent it from occurring. But this is often too much of an ideal in our current food production system, which is very complex and industrialized. But if we cannot prevent food surplus, then the next best thing is, of course, to direct it to humans, to feeding hungry people, for those in need. If we cannot do that, then the next option would be to feed it to animals, either directly or through processing it, as we heard that, for instance, insects can be used to create animal feed from food waste. Then the next step would be industrial use. In Europe, there are these large facilities built to produce bio-based fuels and gas to recover energy. But that's below the other solutions that we can use. So it's not so sustainable as the ones that are above that. And only then should composting and then finally landfilling be used as solutions to handle food waste as a kind of a last resort. The order of the stages in this figure, they might differ a little bit, but this is the basic idea in the food recovery or food waste hierarchy. Here you can see also some of the example solutions that have been invented. So first of all, there are the technological advances that help us reduce food waste. Mobile applications that people can download and use from their mobile phones have recently been introduced to help, for instance, consumers and restaurants and retailers to reduce their food waste. For instance, this one picture that we have here is of a company rescue club from Finland that helps restaurants sell their surplus meals directly to consumers at a discounted price. On the other hand, there are also technological innovations in the food industry, such as in packaging, where this bottom picture here is an example of Mieke Touch, which helps to replace the static expiry date markings or date labels in food packaging with more dynamic system, where the packaging itself may tell the consumer whether the content is still edible or not. In the middle, we have solutions related to information providing and education, which is also very important. Unless people become aware of food waste and how it's created, as well as how it can be reduced in their everyday lives, there will be no momentum or motivation to reduce it. There have been several campaigns globally to inform consumers and other stakeholders about this issue, such as the International Day of Awareness of Food Losses and Waste, which was organized last year. Finally, changes need to be taking place in the everyday practices of people, as Jelle was also talking about, in households as well as in working life and in organizations. For instance, European retailers, such as the Finnish S Group, have recently been paying increasing attention to reducing food waste in the supermarket, and also through educating their customers about this problem. Then customers themselves and, for instance, social media influencers, such as food bloggers or Instagrammers, can also have their role to play in this problem by inventing and sharing tips and, for instance, recipes for reducing food waste at home. The food waste reduction has, in our view, been increasingly turning into a global movement all over the world. Here you can see some European examples and an Indonesian one that we heard about. So this Indonesian food cycle initiative has really done good work already with raising awareness of the issue among, for instance, brides and grooms in Indonesia, who have had their opportunity to donate leftover food from their weddings. As we can see with this example, food waste is also very much tied to the cultural context, which means that it is important to build on cultural knowledge in projects like the IN2FOOD project. To conclude my speech, I have collected here some key things that need to manage the wicked we need to manage the wicked problem of food waste. They include multidisciplinary knowledge, cultural understanding, empathy and collaboration between stakeholders, education and awareness building, technology and innovations, and social movements. So I think we really have these things in the IN2FOOD project. And it will be really nice and an honor to be part of this consortium. So me and my team, Wastebusters from Tampere University, are really glad to be part of this. And let's make a difference together.
Thank you. Thank you, Elina. Let's make a difference together. 1/3 of total production is wasted. So I hope that all of us actually after this session will think more and aware about our individual behavior with regards to food. But before we go to our last speaker, allow me to say hello to our colleague from Bandung Municipality who work to address food waste issues. We have Ibu Kamalia, Kadis DLHK, Pak Ginggin, Kadis Dispangtan, and Pak Gunggun, Kadis PD Kebersihan. And I'm going to the last speaker for today's session. It will come from Anna de Visser, a PhD candidate from Hotel School The Hague, with topic integrated and multidisciplinary education to fight societal challenges such as food waste. Anna?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, I can see you, and I can see your presentation. The time is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much for that introduction, Rati. Good afternoon, Indonesia. Good morning, Europe. I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you this morning. And a particular thank you to Joanna, of course, for all the work and the success that she has had in setting this up and for inviting us, Hotel School The Hague, along on this project. And also my gratitude is extended to Elina and her team for actually making that introduction, to giving us the opportunity to contribute to such a prestigious project, and that we're really glad to be able to share the knowledge that we have built over the last, particularly over the last 4 years, in terms of integrating education and research to fight societal challenges, and in particular food waste, but also to be able to use those skills to actually to fight societal challenges in a broader sense. So Just a little bit about Hotel School The Hague. Welcome to the heart of hospitality. We were established a bit more than 90 years ago. We are constantly rated as one of the top 3 applied universities in our country, among the top 5 hospitality schools worldwide. We're very international, 65 nationalities, 2 campuses where we also operate 2 hotels, 6 restaurants, and we have a research center established as well, where I mostly spend my time. So we have had a lot of success over the last 90 years, but of course, the world is changing so rapidly and it's becoming increasingly complex and volatile, as we know, just looking back at this last year. So we had to start asking a question: what do we need to change to actually prepare our students to face this very complex world? And normally we would say, yeah, we always find the answer outside. And you would ask yourself, especially me as a marketeer, you know, what do our customers want? And what we saw is, of course, that education, higher education, has been changing very slowly. I think we've seen really a speed in innovation this last year because of the pandemic. But before 2020, this is very much the same pictures that we would see from the 1930s still in 2020. Whereas at the same time, you know, research shows that there is a need for a new type of business school, new type of higher education, which really focuses on a bigger pictures and run projects that actually also actively contribute and move towards social and environmental goals. And with that, saying that in the past, I think, you know, higher education have been very, very good at focusing on knowledge. But as we see with technological advancements and artificial intelligence, machine learning, so on and so forth, the emphasis going forward is really, as Joanna also pointed out, is really on 21st century skills and looking at how can we actually train new types of leaders that really, you know, have very, very advanced inherently human skills such as critical thinking, creativity, what Jelle also talked about, communication, collaboration, curiosity, to really be able to tackle societal problems. Because indeed also, as Dr. Bondung said, we need a new type of business, a business that function in a circular manner, in a circular economy, rather than just a very linear economy as we're used to. So what we felt is, you know, just asking what our customer was just not enough. Looking at this broader picture, we said we need to ask a different question. And that question is actually, what do the world need from us? And what we saw, indeed, what I mentioned already, our world is changing very, very rapidly. You know, huge forces of change in terms of technology, economy, social changes, political changes that really impacts the way business models function today, and the need to change to be able to embrace these forces of change in society. At the same time, you know, we come from this ever-ending growth, and this is also what we mentioned this morning, there is limit to growth, and that's on a biospheric, societal, and economic level, and also very well outlined, and that's why I like this graph, because it sort of really outlined how the United Nations Sustainability Goals fits into that we cannot just continue growing, but we have to embrace a much more holistic view to actually how we treat both business models, but also the world that we live in. So we need, what I mentioned already, a new type of leaders that embrace these new economic models. And us as working at higher educations, we feel that it's our responsibility to actually deliver those new types of leaders. And Porter and Kramer wrote about this actually already 10 years ago, where they said, okay, there's really a need to move towards a more shared value model, where actually companies find opportunities in social problems. So it's not really a philanthropy or about only social responsibility, but it's really a different way of looking at how can we achieve economic success. So, and you know, this is an article from Sedosia from 2014, where they looked at that, okay, companies that have this sort of broader perspective to running their businesses, they call them firms of endearment, they end up being actually almost 14 times more profitable over a 15-year period than regular Standard & Poor 500 companies. So we said to ourselves, so where do we need to start then as a business school? We want to change, we need to, you know, continue to be ahead of our game. And we said, okay, let's start with the social needs. And of course, you know, this is very well defined today. So you know, searching for specific social needs was not very difficult. And we said, okay, so let's look into number 12. We also feel, and I think that's also very typical why we sit here today, number 17 is just so incremental, working together in partnerships to achieve these goals. And we said, okay, well, you know, food waste problem, we're a hospitality school. This is one of society's greatest challenges. As a business school in hospitality, we cannot not try and do our part in tackling this immense problem. So we said, okay, well, that might be a business opportunity where we say also what previous speaker talked about, really sort of moving, I wrote it up here, from waste to food, and we call it from waste to taste. And in particular, looking at how can we actually reuse food or rescue food or save more food. And then at the same time, matching that together with the corporate assets that we have in terms of the expertise, the knowledge, and of course also the physical outlets that we have to facilitate that process. And this is the kind of the learning that we very much would like to share going into this project, because it's not particularly for a hotel management school, but also really something that we can take other students along in many, many other disciplines and apply the same sort of structure and thinking, I think, in particular. So we started in 2017, like I mentioned, very, very hands-on, picking up tomatoes that would otherwise be wasted just because it's surplus, nothing wrong with them. And we started making rescued soup to today, where we've actually have an established expertise center on food circularity. So sort of really build our knowledge from food waste to a broader topic area. So rescued 100,000 kilos of food and more, I think, by now. What we particularly do, which is relevant maybe for, or I think particularly for this project, is that how we look at, okay, so we do things in practice, but how do we actually set this up in a way where we can also learn from it, not only the practical skills. So what you see here on the picture is we had saved lots of food, and we said, okay, so how do we market these boxes? Very similar to what Elina just showed from the rescue app. Okay, here are the boxes. What price should we ask for them? What is the message that worked the best to actually convince our community to buy these food boxes? And these are I mentioned the soup already, but here, for example, is an example of how we look at different presentations. So do the rescued soup actually sell better if we present it in green bowls versus white bowls? And this is how we elaborate with the menu. Sometimes, as you see here, we have a rescued bouillabaisse. This was made from bycatch, and we look at, okay, so if we present it this way, chunky and chopped, versus if we present it in a very smooth and pureed way, what difference does it have on consumer preferences? Same thing, you see a lot of grains being left over now and saved actually from beer making. So nothing wrong with these grains, and that's why companies don't have to communicate that these are rescued grains or rescued granola, but we look at our breakfast buffet. Okay, so what is the difference if you just use it in a regular setup versus if you actually tell the sustainability story behind it? Rescuing pumpkins, for example, where we looked at different presentations on the buffet. You see ugly pumpkins here versus if we put pretty pumpkins. Again, it's nothing wrong with them, but consumers tend to not want to buy it because it looks ugly, but from the inside, it's perfect quality. We said, okay, does it make a difference in terms of the presentation of the food? So a lot of that work has also got into also us securing quite some research funding. But also something going back to what Jelle also talked about, influence strategies in terms of changing behavior. Dr. Bondung also talked about that changing behavior, and we've particularly looked at nudging. So indeed, also a green office, a green campus. I heard that Umpar is leading the pack on that. We've also done quite a lot of work in that regard, using different type of influence strategies, but also in our own kitchens to reduce food waste from social norms to priming to commitment. So very much looking forward to share this, and some of that work is also captured in the book of Elina and colleagues at Waste Busters. So it also, some of that work have led us last year we were a key partner in a national food waste challenge where we had 172 restaurants involved. I got 45 of our students involved in this process, and just very quickly how something like that works. An intake meeting with the restaurants. We come in and we make a baseline measurement, so how much is actually being wasted now. We implement different interventions. So this is an intervention of what we call a social norm. Be creative. We talked about creativity. Jelle, also, your chef is doing what he can to decrease food waste. Are you joining? And with some priming pictures. We had those for 3 weeks, and then go in again and take what we took one measurement to see, okay, so have this intervention actually worked? We had a big presentation at one of the biggest hospitality trade fairs in the Netherlands, and this is actually, or was, because they now resigned that cabinet, but this was the Vice Prime Minister Carola Schouten to the Netherlands at the moment, who presented our results together with Wiebe Dreyer, who is the CEO of Rabobank, one of Europe's biggest banks. So of course, that's how we also created a lot of attention for this campaign, and hence also most importantly for food waste. And they presented, we were very happy to see a 21% decrease in food waste across those participating restaurants. So our interventions have worked. So again, we try to, what we do in practice, also capture that. So what does it mean? How can we further knowledge? And this was an article that was published in November just last year about the steps that we took, but also particularly how we worked in a partnership in making that happen. So that is a lot of work what I do with sort of bachelor thesis students, but we also have integrated food waste management in younger years. So this is what we call a practical and theory education. It's in year 2, where we really ask the students to say, okay, so what is a societal challenge that you would like to work on as a student? And the students actually chose, and they have to pitch to us also what it's going to cost, how they're going to finance the budget. And as lecturers, we coach the students in that process. So it's sort of really changing the educational model around. And I think if it's something that these students will remember from assignments at Hotel School The Hague, it's definitely what we call the pâté assignment. And I'll just show you a quick movie now of what some of those assignments have looked like. Yeah, so those are just a few examples of what we do. So very much implemented also in a design thinking way. So where one project builds on the other. And in particular, when we take those learnings and look at, with our 4th year students, so what have we learned so far over those 4 years? And so it's really about also, so a lot of iterations indeed, also building on the design-based research cycle in particular, and also a lot by doing, building awareness for various topics on food sustainability, but particularly on food waste through taking a lot of action. And this is really where you build, from the student's perspective, creativity, communication, critical thinking. How do I actually tackle this? How do I get the budget? How do I operationalize it? So a lot of skills that really go into this. And this is just another example boars in the Netherlands. It's an overpopulation. They're being shot as similar in Scandinavia, I believe, at least in Sweden, where I'm originally from, and often just wasted. So this is really, again, where we say, okay, not everybody agrees with us, because we also have a lot of vegetarians, but at least we need to at least appreciate that this is also a valuable resource. And here we make the sausage, which is actually then served in our restaurants. So, and also, again, it's been mentioned before, we do quite a lot of looking at how can we embrace different technologies. So this is what I call, this is where food waste meets artificial intelligence. So we have this artificial intelligence, it's a camera, which actually takes a photo of the food that is being wasted before it goes into the bin, and that's when it's weighted. So we know exactly what we have wasted and also how much, and we can get very, very detailed reports. And of course, on the basis of those reports, make much better predictions of what we should purchase and how much, and so on and so forth. And then together, sort of learning with our students, with our colleagues, and very happy to say Josef also is here, that I work very closely with. He will also be particularly involved as we embark on work package 3, which we are in charge of. So yeah, that's the presentation I have this morning. Again, we're very, very delighted to be part of this consortium. As we say, we hope to work together and really, as we say at Hotel School The Hague, build hospitable futures together. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I really like the word rescue. It's very catchy, and as a consumer myself, I think I would think twice about what kind of option that I have. I already have like few questions actually on the chat, but due to the time constraint, I will choose and read it towards the key speaker. But before that, allow me to highlight some keywords that keep reappearing and popping up during our key speaker actually. The first one, we talk about multi-stakeholders and collaboration across discipline, which is interdisciplinary. That's what we are trying to do here. And we also talk about changes of behavior. I think it starts from us individually. And also something that's very interesting now is the use of technology. We can see this adoption of technology is used in tackling the food waste issues. But unfortunately, due to other commitment, Dr. Dohong has left. So there are a few questions for him. We will try to send it toward him, but we still have our 3 experts here, and I'm gonna give each of you question, and then there will be question for all of you. The first one is to Jelle. Jelle, this is from Antonius Puspo Kuncoro from Prasetya Mula. He was asking, considering that our contemporary problem on sustainability is arguably caused by anthropocentrism in modern world in the first place, why don't we move the center to something else, like earth, nature, environment, perhaps? So it's about the sustainability balance of economic, environmental, and people. And for Elina, this is from Bagus Unpar. Food loss happen a lot in Indonesia, caused by handling, market dynamics, natural disaster. What is the best solution to help of save the farmer to deal with this situation? He actually asked already a question, is there any easiest way to solve domestic or organic waste in your country? So as a comparison, Elina. And then for Anna, we have 3 questions also. Food waste management seems to be more a problem of managing people and society to waste less food than a problem of technology. So what your intake on this? This is from Ibu Miriam Wijaya from Unpar. Okay, so I'll give the chance to Jelle, maybe the first one.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, first of all, I think like also Anna just mentioned in her talk, I think, yes, it's good that to not only focus on what customers want, but to look what is best for the planet. So I do agree there we need to set the planet or the environment central. But what I do think is that if we want to change human behavior, then you should focus on these people and try to understand the people, because just saying, this is what I see, what's not working, is just saying to people, you have to do this for the good of the planet, because it's too far away. They have their daily problems. They have to earn their money, they have to feed their children, and it's too far to just say, yeah, you have to do this in order to save the planet, because yeah, it's too difficult, I think, for most people to give them the responsibility of a whole planet. And therefore, if you want to change their behavior, I think it's better to first focus on their individual problems, try to understand them, and then try to look at the bigger picture. If that answers a bit the question. So yes, for me, put planet central, but tackle human behavior change by having a human-centric design approach.
All right. If you have further clarification of the question, you can write it down and I will forward it to Jelle. But the next one, I would like to Elina to comment on the question directed to her.
So one question was about farming and how farmers could be helped to avoid food loss. So first of all, I think that farming is always dependent on natural conditions, and that's why we cannot always prevent food losses from occurring. But at least if we think about it from the research side, a lot of the research focus and also the focus on the information and awareness building campaigns have been targeted at consumer side. So maybe having some educational efforts toward the farmers could be beneficial, so that they would know how the problem impacts at their stage. So building their awareness, and of course maybe having some technologies, tools that they can use also to improve their operations in that sense. And then there are different solutions also that have been tested globally to address this problem at the food production stage at the farms. So there is, for instance, the movement of gleaning, which means that farmers can use for a channel of communication to let individual people or organizations such as charity organizations know that they have some produce in their fields that they're not going to harvest for one reason or another. For instance, that it's not financially beneficial for them to do that. So then they can offer the opportunity for people to come there and do the gleaning, the harvesting on their behalf, and then have some of that food perhaps to themselves. So that's one thing that has been tested. Also in Finland, we sometimes have this problem that the farmers are not picking up or not harvesting everything from their fields. And there have been cases where single consumers have heard about these things, and then they have been willing to perhaps help the farmers by, for instance, buying more of that particular vegetable or fruit that is otherwise would be wasted. So there are opportunities to do that. And of course, the other question was regarding separating the bio-waste from other kinds of waste. So I think that's a common practice in Finland, at least these days, but still not everyone is doing that. So in the cities, in the urban areas, there is very good infrastructure for that already. And in the countryside, perhaps not always so much, but it's still, everything is not still fixed here either. So there is still a lot to do.
Thank you, Elina. Yes, it's a challenge for us. And Anna, would you like to comment on it? The questions of technology?
Yes, of course. Let me just go back first. What I mean with sort of looking at the world is that I think in the past, when we've served the needs of customers, it has been at the expense very often of other people or the environment. So that's what I mean, sort of looking at the world, how can we have a more holistic impact? And I 100% agree with Jelle to start with human behavior and also with the question. I think also in terms of changing human behavior, technology can be a great enabler in that process. So that's how I would like to look at the technology in itself. I agree is definitely not the solution, but an enabler to be able to do so. So let's look at the rescue app that Elina mentioned here. Too Good To Go is the biggest one. It's not a solution to a food waste problem. It's an interim solution now where restaurants still are not in a capacity of being able to predict exactly how many customers they will have and how much they need to purchase and prepare. So they have a lot of leftover foods, and hence that technology app helps to connect that restaurant who is with that problem. Think of also the lady at the market, you know, being able to pick and sell that the perishable food with customers, and that's where technology is an enabler in being able to do so. And the artificial intelligence that I talked about, that is, you know, ultimately meant to help us sort of predict, to have a better equilibrium of what is the demand and what is the supply. So that's how I look at it. Yes, definitely changing human behavior, but using the technology that we have today to be able to do so, because indeed we are so very stuck in our routines and behaviors. So there is still a huge behavioral gap between what our intentions are and our actual behavior. And I think we should really embrace technology, if we can, to build those bridges.
All right.
I hope it answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. The last question is actually combination of few questions. It all focusing on behavior. So one particular question is the core is actually how do we change behavior? So from a government official, I think this is directed to all the three of you, how to change the behavior. The first question is actually coming from the government official. It's asking about what the government should do first to introduce ways to change the habit. But from the business side, there's also a question asking, there's a policy actually in restaurant that you cannot actually save the leftover food. You have to throw it because it's related to business. How you think about it, or what does it mean to the complex pictures? And there's also a question as well from the side of culture. So Indonesia used to be quite, in their wisdom, in the local wisdom, is quite considerate towards food waste. But since their modernization, there's always this thing like, you know, food equal to prosperity, and more food waste is actually showing that you're good, you're prosper. So how do we change all of this behavior from your point of view? Maybe you can give example what happened in your country, or from point of view. Please, I'll start from Jelle.
Yes, I think one of the important things for the government is to include local communities. I think a lot of the problems, are partly sometimes already being solved by these people. The people are creative and they try to find solutions, but as a government, setting the rules and maybe prohibiting certain things can work very adverse if they don't understand what is really happening on the local part. So involving people by co-creation workshops and getting them more or representative of certain communities, involving in this legislation, I think is one of the first things that should happen.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Elina or Anna first?
I can continue. I think that the first thing also for policymakers, for governments, is to build on the knowledge of people's everyday lives who are working, who either at home or working for a company and dealing with food and dealing with waste, what kind of practices, what kind of steps they are actually undergoing there. Because if we don't know where food waste comes from and what problems and things it's connected to, it's difficult to try to do anything about it. It's easy to say that stop wasting food, but unless we have that background knowledge, it's actually hard to do. And there are several different change points that we can try to influence. So starting from that, building on that understanding. And then regarding that cultural aspect that was mentioned, I think it's also a question of how we frame the issue of eating and food waste and these things. So of course we need to respect the cultural traditions and the rituals and the meanings that people have, and perhaps not try to change those directly, but maybe connecting more positive meanings with this battle against food waste. So in Finland and in Europe, for instance, it has become a really trendy thing to do to reduce food waste. And for instance, using these technologies to pay attention to your food waste, it's considered as innovative. It's considered as adopting this more environmentally friendly lifestyle. So perhaps moving toward that direction would be one good idea as well.
Thank you. Anna.
Yeah, just to add, I think what we've seen in the past, from particularly going back to the policy making, that policymakers have had some very nice informational campaigns. But at the end of the day, what I just said, we deal with this huge intention behavioral gap, and those informational campaigns have in the end not been very successful in bridging that gap to sort of really, oh, I know I need to eat 2 fruits a day. I know that, but do I do it? Yeah, that's the bridge. So I think particularly looking at influence strategies, so interventions that are easy, or maybe indeed what Elina tapped upon, where it's actually, that's what I see around me, is becoming a new norm. So for policymakers too, and I know particularly in the UK, they have this behavioral insights unit. They are very successful in doing so, in sort of changing behavior by implementing various types of nudges or behavioral interventions that help people to change their behavior, and thus sort of moving forward as a society towards more sustainable behavior. So that would be sort of, as a policymaker, my advice to really look at what are, and also working what Jelle very much talked about, which I like, in an iterative way. So really testing a lot. Okay, so did this message work? Or maybe it didn't. Maybe we need to reframe it a little bit this way, and sort of, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's what I'm saying the first time. So really sort of working in shorter iteration cycles to build on the findings that are then created through every intervention.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Jelle, Elina, and Anna, for sharing your thoughts and perception toward us. I'm very sorry that I cannot address all the questions that you already actually put on the chat, but I think this is a good thing, because then now you can follow us on our website and focus more on IN2FOOD, what actually the knowledge that we're going to share, the initiative that we're going to share for all of us to help tackle the food waste issues. I'm just going to end this amazing question and answer sessions, and I'm going to give it back to Ocha as the master of ceremony. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Rati.
Thank you, Rati.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rati, for the session. Such a really great session. Let's give our virtual big hand for the session. Yay, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost arrived at the end of today's IN2FOOD conference. I would like to invite Ms. Noni Kaban, MBA, as Head of Program Rikolto in Indonesia, to give a closing speech. Please welcome Ms. Noni Kaban.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon. So first of all, thank you for University of Parahyangan for inviting us from Rikolto to participate in IN2FOOD International Conference and Kickoff Project. So first of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Noni Kaban, Head of Program Rikolto in Indonesia. So Rikolto is an international organization, the headquarter in Belgium. So with more than 40 years experience in partnering with farmers organization and food chain stakeholders across Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin America. So in Indonesia, our office is in Denpasar, Bali. So it is my great pleasure to be here with all of you in this IN2FOOD International Conference and Kickoff Project with theme Resolving a Societal Challenge, Interdisciplinary Approach Towards Fostering Collaborative Innovation in Food Waste Management. So we have heard invaluable information from the keynote speakers with their perspectives, knowledge, experiences on facts and challenges to fight food waste, how to empower people to tackle sustainable problems, managing problems of food waste, and practice on integrated and multidisciplinary education to fight food waste. So as has been mentioned during the session, that we have a global challenge issue on food waste. Food production has to increase by 60% in 2050 due to trends in population growth. By 2030, it mentioned also before that the amount of food waste is estimated to be 2.1 billion tons. So we can imagine the amount of food waste and its impact on the environment. So food loss and waste is responsible for about 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. But at the same time, we have to reduce the temperature by 1.5 degrees. So solutions need to be found. So as mentioned before by Pa Alue Dohong, that household contribute 62% of food waste, and from the household, not food waste, but 62% of waste, and food waste itself contribute 44%. So the question is how this initiative, by bringing capacity building to introduce the interdisciplinary approach, could foster innovation, especially in the household level, who contribute 62% of waste, especially in Indonesia. How to raise awareness of the community to reduce food waste. So Professor Jelle explained before that one way to empowering people in order to tackle sustainable problem is using design thinking to really understand the underlying problems that are caused by human behaviors. So, and I like the examples before that mentioned by Professor Jelle about the size of the plate and the sign put in the buffet. Maybe the solution is as simple as that as simple as the size of the plate can reduce the number of food waste in the household level or in the restaurant level. So it will be interesting. So how can we also mention in the session that how we can utilize the technology to reduce food loss and food waste from the farmers as well as in the consumers level. So it mentioned before the application for Too Good To Go. In Bandung also, as I recall, there's one application that has been built also in partnership with University of Parahyangan, the Badami application for food waste. So it will be interesting to see how this technology or this application could support the food reduction, food waste in Bandung especially. So so IN2FOOD initiative takes the interdisciplinary approach toward fostering collaborative innovation in food waste management. So it means the knowledge and method will be integrated from different disciplines, the interaction and work collaboratively. So it will be interesting to see 3 years later how this initiative could initiate the innovative solutions for food waste management in Indonesia. So last but not least, I would like to wish the University of Parahyangan and the consortium a success for this project. And we look forward to hear from for the progress and the updates of the initiative, and hope this initiative could contribute for the food waste challenges globally, and especially in Indonesia. So good luck, and I wish you success for this initiative. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Ms. Nani, for the closing speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's online conference. It has been so wonderful, insightful, and we hope that this project has been a great platform for each and every one of us to increase knowledge and share experience on food waste management. I would like to remind all participants that further information on the activities of this project can be seen through IN2FOOD Instagram account at in2food.project. Finally, let me end the conference with a quote by Associate Professor Elina Narvanen. Solving the wicked problem of food waste requires collaboration between actors and multidisciplinary knowledge. So thank you very much for being part of the IN2FOOD project. I, Rosalind, will see you again. Good afternoon and have a nice day.